Hello, my name is Matthew, and today is day 8, I think, of stories for my friend in quarantine. And um, today we're going to talk about something a little different. When you're friends with somebody, sometimes you have to talk about things that you don't want to hear about. And last night I did something that I don't usually do. I watched mindless television. And I found myself watching an early 90s sitcom called Family Matters. It was fairly popular in its day. It was part of ABC's TGIF lineup, which included Full House and Step by Step, among others. And Family Matters is about a middle class family in Chicago, Illinois, and it's a husband and wife, mother and father. It's the Winslow family. There's Carl Winslow and his wife, Harriet. And they have two children, Eddie and Lori, or Laura. And they're just a middle class family. They have a nice house and they get along and get by fairly well. But the father's mother moves in with them, and um, the wife, Harriet, her sister eventually moves in. So there is a financial strain on the household. This isn't dramatic, it's for comedic effect. And then the surprise breakout star of the show is Steve Urkel. Initially, he wasn't a cast member. He was supposed to be just a one-off character for one episode. He was such a hit with the viewers. Not only was he incorporated into the show, but the show became framed around him. And Steve Urkel is uh, this cartoonish, nerdy, dorky, awkward, bumbling character. He wears oversized tortoiseshell glasses, and he has his pants pulled up to his shoulders, and he has little suspenders, and just kind of goofy, doofy personality traits about him. He's like the personification of a dork. So, the beginning of this episode, um, the Carl and Harriet are just coming back from the grocery store, and they're lamenting how much it cost. I think they said it was $160. We only got these few things. Like, how are we going to get by? And Harriet's sister's at the kitchen table and says, I really appreciate you guys taking me in. I feel bad that I don't pull my fair share. It's really hard being a writer. So she's trying to be a novelist or something, but doesn't work and doesn't write. And the wife, the mother, is saying, no, that's okay, everything is fine. The husband, Carl, is saying, well, maybe look at the classifieds. So in comes the daughter, and she is absolutely jubilant, bouncing around, jumping and dancing, and she announces to the family that she has gotten her very first job. And she got a job as a waitress at a burger joint. And she needs her parents to sign a permission slip because she's not quite old enough to just work on her own. She needs permission. And they argue back and forth. The parents are saying, well, what about your school? What about your sports? What about your chores at home? And she says, I'm going to take care of everything. I'm going to still get good grades. I'll take care of my chores. And they say, they come to an agreement and say, um, we'll have a 1 month um, probationary period. And after a month, if you can handle all of these things, you can keep your job. In comes Steve Urkel to great applause from the live studio audience. And he's happy too, because not only is he in love with their daughter, Lori, he fawns over her and he's a creep. Not only is he infatuated with her, but he also managed to get a job at the same burger joint. So they're going to be working side by side. Lori, the daughter, is repulsed, and Urkel is ecstatic. So then we cut to the burger joint, and it's run by like the restaurant manager. I can't remember his name, and he's this huge boulder of a man, and he has a little white hat, a little white apron, and he's just massive. And we get a couple comedic slapstick pieces where Urkel is trying to treat Lori like she's a princess and doesn't want her to actually have to touch the dishes or touch the plates, even though that's her job. He's trying, he believes that he's being chivalrous, which he's not. And while he's trying to do this, he's creating these disasters, haphazardly making a mess, like knocking over things and breaking dishes and throwing food into customers' faces. And there's like a little minor catastrophe. And Urkel has a catchphrase, a recurring catchphrase throughout the whole series. And he says, after there's been an accident that he caused, he goes, "Did I do that?" And everyone kind of looks at him and shakes their head. So the restaurant closes, and the owner of the restaurant, the big hulking man, says, "I need to go to the bank, you guys close up," and he leaves. So Steve Urkel says, "Well, Lori, they're the only two in the restaurant," and he says, "I'm going to make you a romantic dinner. I'm going to go into the kitchen and make you something nice to eat." And Lori says, "Don't go into the kitchen. We're not supposed to be in there." And he goes, "Well, what could go wrong?" So we cut. The next scene. The burger joint is burning to the ground. It's totally ablaze. There's fire trucks, police cars. Urkel is like in a gurney getting an oxygen mask put on him. Lori is, she has maybe a blanket over her. There's a crowd of people, medics. Urkel takes his breathing mask off and he looks at the burning building and he goes, "Did I do that?" And a whole crowd of people nodding their head like, this Urkel burnt the restaurant to the ground. So now we're back in the Winslow in the Winslow house. The parents are sitting on the couch. There's an easel being covered by a drape. In comes Urkel and Harriet, the mother, Harriet's sister, Rachel. She was the writer who didn't have a job. So Urkel and Rachel come out and they say, now that this building has burned down, it got me thinking. Turns out I've always wanted to run a restaurant. And they pull the drape and there's one of those images, like a drawing of what the new, it's called Rachel's Place. And is what Rachel's place is going to look like, as a logo, and what the chairs are all going to look like. And she says, I've already gone to the bank, and I just can't quite afford it. And they say, if I can produce $5,000, they'll cover the rest, and I can have my dream as being a restaurant owner. You might, at this point, be thinking, what happened to the original owner, the big hulking man with the white hat and the apron? And they write it off with one line. Rachel, while she's giving her presentation, she says, it really is a shame that the restaurant manager just went completely insane, and that's it. So the mother and father talk, and they'd say, well, they talk privately and say, we would really like to be able to help her, but we just can't afford it. We don't have the 5,000. Can't do it. Well, now in comes, first time in this episode, Carl's mother comes in, Estelle, to great applause. She goes, I can't believe you would hold a family meeting without me. And they go through this whole thing and say, she wants the 5,000. We really like to be able to give her the 5,000, but we just can't do it. She hands him a blank check. Goes, put in whatever number you want. And Carl says, you can afford that? And maybe the best line of the episode, Carl says, can you afford that? And she says, is a frog's butt watertight? So yes, apparently she has amassed a fortune that nobody knows about. And so they do a montage. Now Rachel, the sister, has a nice new restaurant. Urkel and the daughter get to work there. Carl and Harriet are very happy, and everything's worked out for everybody. That's the conclusion of the show. Urkel inadvertently burns down a person's establishment to the good luck for the Winslow family. And there's a moral in there somehow. But I watched that last night. I just in great detail told you. And I do this with my friends all the time. I told my friend Kevin for years I would go through this whole thing telling him about episodes of the Andy Griffith show. And I would say, you gotta watch it. And he'd go, I'll just listen to you. So that's it. An episode of Family Matters for day 8 of quarantine. Let me know what you think. Take care.